I got probably the most unhinged Fantastic Four comic that there is. It's new comic book day, folks. It's Wednesday. Actually, it's not Wednesday. I did this again. It's Thursday. I pick up my comics on Thursday. Just walking out of the gym. And we're gonna go get some comics. I only have 2 pulls, but we're gonna take a look and see some other stuff, see what we can find. All right, y'all, just got at the shop. My damn mic broke, so now I can't put it on my shirt. Well, let's go pick up the goods. Let's see what we got. All right, folks, I did happen to record most of this yesterday in the car, but after looking at the footage, it was blurry. Some things were not in focus that they weren't supposed to be. So I just decided that, hey, we're going to just re-record all of this again. So as mentioned at the beginning of the video, I got the most unhinged issue of Fantastic Four, in my opinion, at least. Now, I'll save that towards the end. Starting off, we have The Ultimates, issue number 16 by Denise Camp and Juan Frigeri. Last issue, in issue 15, we met this universe's Shang-Chi. It was kind of a really interesting story, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But in this issue, it kind of looks like we're talking about what's going to be the network that the Ultimates have set up that is going to be reached out to civilians. It's most likely like a social media kind of app, and it's called AltNet. Now, that's all I know about this specific issue. I haven't read it yet. However, what I am most excited about is in this issue is if we are truly going to get America Chavez in this specific issue based on the cover. We haven't seen her for a while. The last I remember, if I remember correctly, she went away with the Guardians of the Galaxy. We just know that if she's going to end up kind of helping the Ultimates and helping them attack someone in this issue, I'm pretty excited to see it because America Chavez is beyond powerful in this universe. I believe it was issue 3 or 4 when the Ultimates found America Chavez. She was being held hostage by Midas, and they were using her to pretty much power an entire city or maybe even a region. So knowing that she's powering an entire region or a city just goes to show you how powerful she is. And I can't wait to see how she kind of fits into the Ultimates kind of fold. Next on the list is Ultimate Black Panther, issue number 20 by Brian Hill and with art by Stefano Caselli. I do not know exactly where we even stand in this current run. I have not been keeping up with this. The last I remember reading was probably around issue 13 or 14, so I don't have much to say. But what I do want to say is that this is probably my 3rd favorite kind of comic run within the Ultimate universe right now, mainly for the sheer fact that Brian Hill has done such an amazing job of pushing the story forward so consistently every issue. I feel like in a lot of comic runs, especially in some of these arcs, you kind of get lost with kind of shorter stories or kind of like little side quests that don't really ultimately add to the overarching arc. That's not true or how I feel about this Ultimate Black Panther run. It has been such a good progression with every single issue, and I commend Brian Hill for doing that. All right, and now to the most unhinged Fantastic Four story that I have ever read. Full disclosure, I have not read every single Fantastic Four issue that is ever in existence. I have read a fair amount. Suffice it to say, there might be more unhinged stories, but this goes back to the original Fantastic Four comic run by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and it is issue number 9. Part of the reason why this story is so unhinged is because it's all about Namor trying to get closer to Sue Storm. In this story, one of the reasons why I love it so much is because Reed is at fault for what happens in this story. Basically, he lost all of the Fantastic Four money by putting it in the stock market. So the Fantastic Four is basically getting run out of the Baxter building and they're losing all of their equipment because all of these debtors are coming to get what they are owed, basically. Namor essentially catches wind of this and sends the Fantastic Four a letter pretending to be some sort of movie director and says, hey, if y'all star in a movie that I want to direct, you will get paid handsomely. And so the Fantastic Four, given the situation that they're in, of course, fall for this trick. Now, eventually, they do find out that it is Namor, and they're in such a pinch that they're like, well, I guess we need to make this movie. And from there, it's just absolutely wild. It's just So it's just so comic booky and it's just so good. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything else within that for you, but my goodness, it is just classic, classic comic book craziness. And I love every single bit of it. If you have the opportunity or the ability to go ahead and get this, this is totally worth reading, whether it's on Marvel Unlimited or if you get what this like facsimile reprinting that they just put out, I think last week maybe. But when I saw this in the shop, I knew that I had to get it because I've already read this before. And I was like, this is literally one of my most favorite comic issues that I've ever read. So I have to get it. Now, on to what I read last week. I've been reading my butt off trying to catch up with my current comic pools. I did catch up on, let's see, I wasn't that far behind. I just had to read last week's pull of One World Under Doom, issue number 7 by Ryan North with art by RB Silva. It's basically a face-off between Doom and everyone else. However, the fight against the Avengers and the X-Men and everyone else doesn't last so long, and it's eventually a face-off between Reed and Doom. And let me tell you what, this face-off is very akin to them fighting each other at the end of Secret Wars and Jonathan Hickman's run. But this time, Reed has learned how to do magic, I guess, sort of. I don't know. He says that he made up a new magic. However, he's just too full of himself, pretty much typical Reed, and Doom can see right through him, and Reed even kind of exposes his weaknesses, which Doom kind of talks about as they're fighting. Doom just puts Reed in his place. I mean, he just puts him in his place. Now, at the last issue number 6, where Doom is pulling Reed's face apart, that is essentially what happened in this issue. And pretty much, Doom just says, Reed, you better humble yourself because you cannot beat me. And that is all I will say about that. I did read issues 18, 19, and 20 of Ultimate Spider-Man. I go back and forth between this one and the Ultimates being my favorite current comic run. In this issue, we finally it's very similar to, I want to say issue 4 or 5, where Harry and Gwen go out to dinner with Peter and MJ. This time, MJ is well aware of the entire situation of what's going on between Harry, Gwen, and Peter, and how everyone's involved in this whole superhero thing, basically. MJ really wants some answers because she's afraid for her safety as well as the rest of her family's safety. And in this issue, we learn just how powerful MJ is. Now, she doesn't actually have powers, but you don't want to mess with Peter Parker's pissed off wife. That's all I will say. There were a lot of like 9-panel pages, but not as much as whatever issue this was in the past of issue 4 or 5. That one had just like way too much of that. This one flowed a little bit better and had some differences in the pages where it just wasn't just like 9 panels after page after page. The only downside to this issue, in my opinion, is whenever Messina is on the art, it's just not as good as Marco Cicchetto's. And that's not to say Messina's art is bad. It's just Marco Cicchetto is on another level. I had picked up issue number 4 of Spider-Man Incursion last week. I had not read any of Spider-Man Incursion at the moment of picking this up. I've read through all 4 issues. I gotta say, Spider-Man Incursion is a really good story. Again, this is written by Denise Camp with assistance from Cody Ziegler and then Jonas Scharf on art. Denise Camp is a really good writer. I really like this story. It's moving steadily. Essentially, the entire overarching arc or thought behind this story is, if you didn't know, Miles was asked by the Maker in the Ultimate Universe to come with him, start this new world, and Miles declined. Well, the Maker left a business card in Miles's room and it happened to go into the trash can. Now, this business card, of course, opens a portal, or is a portal that can have you transported to this world, essentially. And so Miles' sister, younger sister, Billy, gets a hold of this card, the portal opens, and Miles goes in after her, right? So Miles has been traveling in all of the different places within the Ultimate Universe, which is actually really cool to see because for a long while between all of these issues, between the Ultimates, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, and Ultimate X-Men, there wasn't that much connection between all these different parts of the world. And now you're finally getting to see some of that. And we're even getting more and more interaction between the people in these different parts of the world. So in this, we finally get Miles is going place to place, essentially, mainly because all of these, all of the Makers kind of like top dogs underneath him in charge of all these specific areas of this universe are they think that this is a key to get the maker out early because the signature from them and using his like portal, right? So it's on Billy and it's on Miles, and they're reading that and they're like, oh, maybe we can get the maker out early and we'll be in his good graces if we can do that. So they're all trying to get a hold of the key, which happens to be quote unquote, or at least they think Billy. And basically they get Miles, this takes Miles to all the different places within this world. And it's been really good. It's been a really good story. I've really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see what happens at the end because it's obviously coming to an end at issue 5 in this little mini series. So that will be interesting to see what happens. As I had also mentioned earlier in this video, I did read Ultimates issue 15. We get an introduction to this universe's Shang-Chi. This was a really interesting read and kind of like backstory to the Shang-Chi, where he basically became this like Christ-like figure and gained this essentially cult following and was considered like a god. And he basically was a god, but was considered like a god. And then essentially people denounced him and forced all of his followers to not be, following him and kind of what he kind of spoke of. And then we have the Ultimates going and finding this now boy who has taken over kind of Shang-Chi's kind of persona or aura, I guess. But what's interesting is they brought Danny Rand, who we met earlier in the issue with Luke Cage. And it's kind of interesting because they don't really give a reason as to why. It just says that Danny in the issue says that I felt compelled to come on this. Just something inside of me says I should be here. What's interesting is that boy who's taking over Shang-Chi knows Danny's name. And that's pretty much where it ends. So knowing what we know in issue 16, I don't know how much this little storyline is going to get picked up just yet. Obviously it will. But this whole Ultimate universe is getting interesting. It is literally my most favorite thing in comics, in Marvel Comics right now. They're doing such a great job with it. I absolutely love it. That's all I read physically. I read some digital comics on Marvel Unlimited, mainly doing some research for another Doctor Doom video. I read this short little two-issue arc of, it's called Doom Quest, I believe. It's Iron Man issue 149 and 150. Basically, Doom and Iron Man get into a tussle, but they get transported back in time to Camelot, and they essentially have to work together to get back to their actual time that they're from. I think that's all I read digitally last week as well. If you've made it this far in this video and you haven't liked the video yet and you're not subscribed, do both of those things. Help out the channel. If you want to be part of a great community, check out the pinned comment. You can join the Earth's Mightiest Nerds Discord. It's completely free. You just have to sign up for the Earth's Mightiest Nerds newsletter. Thank you so much for sticking around if you're still here. And until the next video, Excelsior.